Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Video Game Voters Network Next Rammus Tournament Release number 2. My name is Dan Frodanjo, and today I'm joined by Marcin Nims Filipovic, team captain and superstar of Cloud9. Marcin, how is it going, buddy?
Oh man, I'm blushing and I'm so excited for today's tournament. We have 8 players and some really good matches in front of us. So it will be a good night and a good evening for all the continents.
That's right. Guys, if you didn't check in the last time of the VGVN tournament, it was a hell of a time. We had 8 players, 6 invites, and 2 open qualified bracket people. And the same will be happening this time for $2,500 US. Today we're going to be featuring Group B with 4 of the players that Nims will introduce to you in just a second.
So Group B will be Kolento, Realz, Trump, and Sixo. And let's briefly talk about all those players. So starting with Kolento. Kolento is a member of Cloud9 and my teammate as well. One of the innovators of Hearthstone. Like, this guy is creating decks and he's making them like a master. He's getting to Legend 1 all the time with every deck he builds. He popularized the Miracle Rogue, also the Midrange Hunter. And recently there was this Paladin deck that he started playing and got to Legend as well. Sometimes he even takes a Troll deck and he gets with it to the Legend in first place. He was playing in the Millennium Cup before. I believe he finished in the top 3, maybe even in the final versus Amaz, if I remember correctly. One of the greatest players and definitely a person that you want to look forward to playing in this tournament. Then we have Realz. I used to say Mana-Grind Realz, but now it's Blizzard Realz because Blizzard was recently joined. He recently joined Blizzard as a developer. So this is actually his last tournament that we are watching. This is this is kind of like a tribute to Realz. So I'm definitely hyped to watch his games. And Realz was one of the best players last tournament. He finished in the final. Amaz won it, but still Realz had a really good run with his Paladin deck. He also brought a couple of cool and interesting decks to the tournament last time. His Demon Warlock, which was pretty amazing with all the demon stuff happening, and he almost won the final versus Amaz, getting Amaz to the 7th game, if I remember correctly. So definitely one of the greatest deck builders, control players as well. Then we have Trump. Well, Trump doesn't need an introduction. He's the most popular Hearthstone player, the first player ever to be sponsored. And now Trump is, well, a lot of people say that Trump is actually a player who's mostly playing arenas, and he's not a competitive guy. He's not that much into constructed, but actually he is pretty good. He was playing recently in the Well-Played Cup and also Heroes of Cards. He got high scores. He's always bringing interesting decks, even though he is more of a control player. Sometimes he's sneaking in those aggro decks to surprise his opponents. And also, Trump is really not afraid of bringing those weird cards to the constructed fold, like Hungry Crab and stuff. So he is definitely a player that can surprise, a very consistent player as well. So I'm having high hopes for Trump in this tournament as well. And then Sixo. Wait, Sixo? Sixo
Again?
again? Like, how is it possible? He qualified the last time because in this tournament we have 2 qualifier spots. Players have to go through an open bracket, a single elimination open bracket, mind you. So you lose one game, you lose one match, and you're out. And Sixo is the guy who actually doesn't lose. He wins all those matches. He has a strategy. He's like wrecking all those people. A lot of good players. Like this time, there was I'm actually not sure about this bracket, but there's a lot of pro players playing in the bracket as well because they were not invited, and Sixo is just plowing through them, getting those invites, and it's so consistent. I think he played 16 rounds total, 8 this qualifier and 8 rounds last qualifier. So, well, maybe Sixo will be invited next time for the next release of the tournament. So this time Sixo is here again. He is ready to fight. So this group looks pretty amazing. And for those guys who actually don't know who Sixo is and missed the last tournament, he is always first to get to Legend almost every season. He plays a lot in different tournaments. He's always successful, and this is his moment. He won King of the Hill of Harfew. He was at the last VGVN tournament. He didn't go through to the top 4, but still, he has good ideas. He's really consistent. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Sixo compete in this group.
Yeah, definitely. It's cool to see that 6-0 comes through the open bracket, not just once, but twice in a field of 256 players. It's quite astounding, actually, the fact that people always chalk up these single elimination tournaments to RNG, right? Even the best players can get cheesed out by Zoo or Hunter or whatever. And yet 6-0 is able to qualify. And guess what? He'd even qualify using Hunter, what everyone expects. He played Shaman, a class that's supposed to be weak to Hunter, and that's what he used to primarily qualify through the tournament. This guy is sick. He's ready to go, and I'm ready for him to impress because just showing up in the tournament, people can look at that and say, well, he plays top 8. You get in there by default. But he had to come out of a gladiator arena in order to get his spot in Group B. So well done to 6-0 once again. But his work is cut out for him. He's got some of the toughest players. I feel like Group B is absolutely stacked out the butt here. With some of the top players in Hearthstone. Real quick, let's break down the format of what to expect over the next couple of days, by the way. There's going to be a group stage, as you already see, that we're doing Group B today, but it's not going to be double elimination that some people usually see. We're going to be playing full round robin groups in best of 5s. Players will bring 4 different classes, and you'll have the option to ban one or veto, depends on what kind of terminology you want to use. And obviously, the winning deck will stay. The top 2 from each group will advance to the bracket stage on day number 3. And in case of a tie, we'll have a final game that will be determining everything else if they're tied completely across the board, which often isn't. That's why you see game score as 0-0 right now, too, because that might be a little confusing to people who might be tuning in. And of course, if you have any questions, make sure to just kind of continue to post. There's a forum in liquidheart.com for the live report thread where you can kind of ask questions, interact, and talk about some of the fun plays that's been happening throughout the tournament. All right, so the first match of the day, do you know what it is, Nimsh?
I believe it's Kolento versus Realz. Let me quickly double check. Yes, it's Kolento versus Realz. It should be.
That's right. And, it's going to be a really cool matchup. Oh, before we forget and go into the match ceremonials as well, you see at the very bottom center of your screen, you have an enter for a chance to win Zeus Mini Cyberpower PC. All you have to do is go to that website link at the bottom, vgvn.onenationsofgamers.com, and check out what this organization's all about. They do a lot of cool stuff with activism to make sure to promote video games in the positive light for all of the USA. So check out this cool stuff. We'll be mentioning it throughout the tournament and making sure to keep you guys updated. Now, let's look at the first matchup. It's Paladin versus Druid. And right off the bat, see that Hunter has been banned by Realz, or fired by Colento, excuse me. And it seems like Realz has banned Colento's Priest, which is an interesting choice that he's allowing Hunter to be played.
Oh yeah, this is definitely surprising. Most of the players right now just ban Hunter outright. Like the strategy is to ban Hunter and well, if your Hunter is not banned, you just want to win with this deck. And or maybe if he's not banning Hunter, he might believe that his decks are actually good versus Hunter. So he's kind of prepared in there. So it will be definitely interesting to see how it will unfold for Realz. And for Colento here. So Realz decided to take his Paladin deck. And what a surprise! This is a totally different deck than the last time, because the last tournament, Realz was playing a control version that was very flexible. He was able to rush, he was able to control the field as well, heal a lot. And this time he is actually bringing a kind of like a mid-range deck with, well, Gnomish Inventor and one Haunted Creeper. So this is... Well, this is not an aggro. This is kind of like, it's different, right? Avenge, for example. That's definitely a card that we haven't seen and constructed recently.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting with all these synergies, right? Where if you can get Avenge on a really good target, say you have like a really powerful Harvest Golem and that's been able to kind of trade and you still have a 2-1 left over. Like all these opportunities can kind of be synergized with the hero power. And not to mention that you have other common targets for Defender of Argus. It's kind of a cool take on being able to play Control Paladin, which is still very strong with the amount of taunts and ways you can answer threats. And you kind of like bring up an interesting point here about how does Realz apply these cards to the current metagame. People don't really know how to play around Avenge just yet because people don't play it much at all at high-level tournaments. So maybe we'll see Realz kind of use it in situations where it's able to kind of get really good board advantage, because that's what Paladin's fighting for the entire time, just board clears and board development. And from there, we'll see if Realz can kind of leverage that in order to kind of push for a win, because that's what Paladin does, just play slow as possible. But that's not what this Druid does. It's going to be going fast. It's going to be going hard. It's got Savage Roar and Force of Nature twice over, along with a lot of sticky minions, so that way it can kind of push in damage. You're from Cloud9. You have some insight into how this deck was built, right, Nipsh?
Oh yeah, certainly. This deck was originally designed by StrifeCrow, and then StrifeCrow and Kolento work on it together. Colento actually got to the first legend with this deck as well, and a lot of people actually play it. So I heard it's actually good versus Hunter, because Defender of Argus works perfectly with every card. If you use Defender of Argus with Spectral Knight, it's a 5/7, which is pretty hard to deal with because of its power. Also works with Echoing Goose. So basically, this is kind of like a token druid, but it's not, because some of the cards were swapped. There is no Violet Teacher. Now you're mostly playing with Echoing Goose and Haunted Creepers. Shade of Naxxramas, a new addition from the last wing of Naxxramas as well. A pretty cool card. You can innervate it. You can play it mid game. You can taunt it as well, making it a bigger one. So yeah, this deck is super consistent, and I'm not sure how it will match up versus the Paladin, but this will be definitely a battle for board position and board control, where Realz can stabilize and heal and just play those big minions that will block the way and heal, and Kolento will have the combo. So it will be pretty interesting how those games will how this game will unfold and how those decks will match up in the first game. But still, early game will be pretty important with all the small minions here.
Completely agree. I think game number 1 is ready to go, and so let's go ahead and start between Realz and Colento to kick off Naxxramas Release Tournament number 2 by the Video Games Voter Network. The opening mulligans, you can see Colento is on the coin, and he starts off with Innervate, really powerful card so that we can grab the tempo early. As this time we have webcams, by the way, which is a cool upgrade. Last time we had really neat art that was depicted of our favorite characters. But this time we're going to go with the tried and true and have the webcam so we can get the real-time reactions from some of these players.
And we have both POV, so I will be pretty excited to see the reactions of players when the Brawl hits, or when the Ragnaros hits, or whatever happens. The emotion on the faces of the players. I really hope that we won't be seeing poker faces all the time, but some salt maybe, possibly. It will be fun to watch, definitely.
Yeah. Now let's take a look at Realz' hand and how it deals with the board flooding. Consecration is an important card, but the problem is a lot of these cards that are in this Druid deck are ways to put Consecration or other AoE slightly less effective, right? Defender of Argus puts things out of range. Haunted Creeper and Harvest Golems are the 2 Death Battle minions early on that has a lot of staying power. So it's going to give... Realz needs a little bit more than what he has at this moment in order to kind of stabilize against this fast combo Druid. So he's going to be looking for other cards that'll continue to combo well with it, like Pyromancer if he has it in his deck to kind of continue stuff. Even Sword of Justice might even do work, being able to buff his creatures a little bit and take out these annoying 1/1s that kind of push out early on.
I agree, and here Kolento has a super strong play with Innervate, Defender of Argus. Now he has to decide if he really wants to trade with the 1/2s or if he wants to push with damage. Well, Consecration is kind of out of range because of Defender of Argus, but those 2/3 minions can just trade with 1/2s, or even like if Realz wants to, he can trade his 1/2s into the 2/3s, putting them into Consecration range. But still, next turn is turn 3, so Consecration is out of the question. So now Kolento has to think, what's better? If I want to deal damage or if I want to trade? What does it mean? Like, if Realz is going, what kind of deck Realz is playing? Do I want to trade because he can buff the minions? Or, well, Kolento doesn't have any knowledge about what Realz is actually playing right now. With the turn 2 Ooze, it can also be an aggro deck with like a bad draw, kind of. So definitely a good decision to trade. But now he will have to... Well, Realz doesn't have a play. It's turn 3, it's kind of blank.
Yeah, it's thinking about like what in the following turns you can set up. It's also the fact that you want to make it seem like you have a harder choice than it actually is. Say you have something like you could be bluffing that you have a Peacekeeper and making Kolento really second guess whether or not that he has it, right? And so maybe he's more cautious to play a big threat. Realz just taking his time, making sure not to give any extra information like, oh, well, I clearly have no 3 mana cost card, back over to you. He's going to kind of make it so that way Kolento has to hesitate a little bit in the future.
Yeah, that's definitely something that pro players do as well. It's you just toy with the cards and confuse your opponent with something that a lot of players just ignore, because most of the players would just do the hero power and then pass. Kolento
Now
going for
that's
damage here.
interesting. Talking about hero powers, Colento had the opportunity just to smack this 1-1 with the hero power, but he chose to use Savage Roar instead. Is it that much of a priority to kind of burst down this Paladin as quickly as you can in this situation?
Well, definitely. He has the board, and he had the board, and he was able to deal 8 points of damage with Savage Roar. So right now, Realz is on 15 points of health, and Kolento has a full board. He still has a good follow-up with the Druid of the Claw and Keeper and Swipe. So he is racing right now, and he should be able to actually like deal a lot of damage with Lothep here. He is able to play the Druid of the Claw with charge and deal 8 more points of damage, putting Realz at 7 points of health. This is incredible. This is turn 5. So much damage going on here. And Lothep is also out of the way, so this means that his swipe is open for the next turn.
Yeah, Realz doesn't have any of his important taunters too, like Sludge Belcher to throw in the way, Sunwalker even, to kind of force a big commitment out of Druid unless they have something like Black Knight to stabilize. And let's see, if he goes for this, he's going to be at 8 health. We have 4 damage from the swipe, and hero power is 5 damage plus a 3. So by my count, Kolento is already going to win on turn 6.
Oh man, this was
right
so
here.
fast. He took the gamble, kind of gamble with the Savage Roar. I don't feel like it was really a gamble because he knows how this deck works. He had the Keeper, so in case of the Sunwalker, he would be able to silence it. Wait,
Whoa.
Kolento just missed lethal.
Oh no, I think Kolento was playing a little bit fast. Didn't kind of mull over his decisions. Uh-oh. He gave a small little opportunity. Sunwalker off the top. I don't think it matters still because there's Keeper. Oh, no, it does. The Keeper silence because this Defender of Argus is still going to die.
Look at
Kolento
Kolento. He actually
Realz
realized
a small window.
Kolento was smiling for a moment. I think he realized he just missed lethal. And Realz, on the other hand, is turning into a ninja.
Oh, man. That's definitely not a good way to start the series. I mean, Kolento still is in a position where he can win. He's got direct damage. But then Realz can heal up with Lay on Hands next turn as well. Oh my god. Is this game going to completely swing the opposite direction, Nibs?
It might. Ninja Realz is actually able to win this game if... Wait, let's count it quickly. So Lay on Hands next turn is 10 points of health. So he'll be at 9 with Weapon Swing 11. Humility doesn't cut it, I guess. Well, he has to heal or he's dead.
Right, because the direct damage might just kill him. So then, you're right, because if he attacks with a face or something, say he wants to minimize damage and heal up, so he's at 11 health with the True Silver attack. His opponent will have Swipe plus
10 points of damage. He will be one damage of lethal.
Of course, Realz feels like if he doesn't, he might die to just Force of Nature, just as a spell card being played vanilla because he has no taunter. So Realz is in a really tough position, but he has to heal. We know this. Is he going to go for an alternative play, though?
Just to kind of clear the board. But what are you doing otherwise? It's
going to play Humility with this. Looks like.
If you, yeah, definitely you will play Humility with this. But what do you do? Like, what do you hope that, because you've seen one Keeper, you've seen one Savage Roar. There's so many cards that kill you, and that's it. He takes the gamble that there is nothing that that Colento will be able to play and kill him. But still. So Realz here, it was not a bad decision. Realz here is taking a gamble that there is nothing good in Colento's hand to be able to build up the board and stabilize next turn. So this play was a play to win the game, kind of, because Lay on Hands would be a play to lose. After Lay on Hands, he could just die anyway and draw the cards. He will be losing. And here he made this play to be able to set up himself to win this game if Colento doesn't have the cards to kill him. So unfortunately for Realz, Colento actually had the cards to kill him, but I feel like it was a well-played decision.
All right, cool. So the first game of this entire tournament starts off very quickly. Colento had a turn 6 win and then went for a little bit of a long BM against Realz here. And now Realz will turn to, looks like a Zoolock deck to kind of flip things around. It seems to be more of what we expected from Zoo a couple of weeks ago when the Next Rams was first released. You have Haunted Creeper and the Ruby Egg immediately thrown in, and then just all the normal synergies that you've come to expect from Knife Jugglers, and then having like Power Overwhelming on their egg to be able to attack and still be able to hash that 4/4. Real's last tournament brought a Demon Lock, which was kind of half handlock, half zoo, but with a little bit of a mid-range taste. It was really cool. But it seems like that surprise factor is no longer a thing here, and he's just going to go with the tried and true zoo.
Oh yeah, I'm kind of sad that the demon deck is no more. No more. The demon deck was pretty cool with all the interactions and Draxus, and he also had a good run in the finals with the deck. I think winning 3 games straight against Amaz. So he almost won the tournament with the demon deck. But I guess Zoo is a better choice for him. It's super stable. The deck is really cool, and there's a lot of cool interactions. He cuts the Void Terror to have only one, and a lot of players are doing that. They are cutting Void Terror. Some of the players are even cutting the Nerubian Egg, and Realz is actually playing Nerubian Eggs, but just a stability move. And here, I like this Zoo, and double power overwhelming, pretty bursty, no Leroy, still very consistent, as well as the Druid, Kolento's Druid. So this matchup, again, will be mostly about early game. The early drops, who is getting the advantage, who is somebody actually able to come back if he's losing the early game. So this might be also a very explosive game.
That's primarily a question for the Druid player. Can they answer and keep up with what Zoo is doing? This is one of the primary weaknesses of this deck, is that as much as you're putting a lot of sticky minions and early pressure out, you need something like Innervate to get ahead of Zoo, so that way you can dictate the trades. Oftentimes, in this matchup, if you draw Defender of Argus, it feels like you don't get full value. Versus Zoo against Druid, unless they have like a full swipe clear, they feel like they can get full value off Defender of Argus. And that's kind of indicative of how this board control game early on tends to favor the Warlock. It can give Druid a really difficult time if Druid doesn't have something like Innervate Keeper of the Grove to stabilize and then go 2-for-1 with minions. And that might be Kolento's biggest savior here. Because I feel like Echoing Ooze and Haunted Creeper, as much as they're sticky early on, they're pretty easily answered by a lot of stuff. Just Flame Imp, Voidwalker, Direwolf Alpha, those kinds of cards are easy to go toe-to-toe with some of these early games from Druid.
Oh yeah, certainly. This matchup is pretty bad for this kind of Druid. So we talked about this with RDU before, and RDU was using this build as well when he was playing Heart of the Cards tournament.
Heroes of Cards.
Heroes of Cards. Okay, House of Cards. And definitely, when you're playing this kind of Druid, you might want to ban Warlock instead of Hunter. So I'm definitely interested to see how Kolento will handle this matchup, finding himself in this weird situation where Zoo has an advantage. Also, what's important, Kolento doesn't know what kind of Warlock Realz is playing, and Realz is mostly known from playing the Handlock, and he's basically a Handlock player. He had a lot of success with Handlock at DreamHack Summer, and last time he was playing the Demon deck. So right now, when you face Realz, you're like, okay, he's probably playing Handlock. The only good thing for Colento is that this Druid is mostly just doing its job. It's you mulligan for the same thing like almost all the time. You just want to set up the early game pressure, so it doesn't matter that much what are you playing against, but still it might influence his decisions a little, and this might lead to his downfall. So I'm definitely interested to see his decisions, and the mulligan will be pretty important.
All right, let's jump into the mulligan screen and find out what happens in game 2 between Realz and Kolento. Will the Druid deck continue to take and slay some of the best players in Hearthstone? Or will Zoo do what Zoo does best, which is get off to an early start and never look back? Realz is on the coin, which is already a good start. That way you can put out double 1-drops and get ahead of Druid like we mentioned. And Kolento does have some interesting cards to keep him in, like Keeper of the Grove, but he needs a little bit more. An Innervate squeezed out early on would be absolutely mint for a Cloud9 player.
It's funny how Realz was actually pointing out the Voidwalker and Argent Squire, because it's when you are on a coin, you're kind of happy that you have 2 1-drops, but on the other hand, you would love to have a Flame Imp. So keeping Argent Squire and Voidwalker is obviously a good decision, but still, you'd love to have the Flame Imp and Voidwalker instead.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just getting in that extra damage early. As much as you might be afraid of losing it to something like Wrath or Innervate Keeper, you gotta go for it and force your opponent to have it. Colento's response is just an ooze. Force of Nature is also a very slow card. It might be just used as removal if you can even get that far, because Zoo is just that dominant. The thing that's nice though is that Realz' deck is a little bit more setup. Things like Nerubian Egg is essentially a really passive turn, and that might give the opportunity for a draw or two for Kolento to kind of climb back in this.
This ooze is so good. For 2 mana, you get a 2/4, basically. Right now, it looks like both of those minions are pretty small, but they might deal a lot of damage and just push through. Here, it seems like Realz has a better board setup, but for now, the situation is that, well, he doesn't deal much damage. He only has 2 potential points of damage on board, and this will be the battle for the boards. Both of the players will try to trade as much as possible and just eliminate their opponent boards. And I'm interested to see what Realz will do with Power of Overwhelming against in his hand, because he has a lot of burst. Defender of Argus is a cool card, but he only has 3 mana. So now I guess you'll use a life tap to see what you get, and then use the Power of Overwhelming to get the 4/4 Nerubian. But on the other hand, it's kind of you want to trade with the minions, so it's kind of like wasting 4 points of damage.
Yeah, but at the same time, you are very aware of a very powerful Defender of Argus turn coming up. So as much as you might ignore these creatures now, you might pay the price later with taunts in 2/3. So I think Realz is going to go for the trade. He picks the middle one. Really not much of a preference, just as long as you're not overkilling the 1/1 here. And I think just continue to pressure, and you put a 4/4 on board, forcing your opponent to have swipe. And if he has swipe, well, good for him. But if he doesn't, you're in a really dominant position, because look at the quality of cards Realz has to follow up. He's got his own Defender. He's got Shattered Sun Cleric to buff things out of range. If he picks up a 1-drop, he'll also have more options at his disposal.
Yeah, definitely has a lot of good buff cards, but if Colento is able to get rid of the 4/4 Nerubian, then Realz' board will be empty. And all those buff cards are great if you actually have minions on board, but if you don't, they're just mediocre. So here it will be really important what Colento actually draws this turn. He will be able to play Keeper of the Grove, which is a cool card to play. It's still a 2/4 and dealing 2 points of damage. But yeah, it seems like Kolento is actually winning the battle for board positioning here.
Well, he picks up Doomguard off the top, so Realz' hand is a little clunky. It's really difficult to kind of squeeze out Power Overwhelming and Doomguard without discarding one early if you're trying to go for board position. How does Soulfire go into this mix? Are you willing to risk a bad discard? He goes for it early on, and he is going to be able to save his Doomguard, which is a very important keep, and still play Defender of Argus. So now Realz is going to pressure in for position and really hope his opponent still doesn't have an answer to this, which it looks like he doesn't. Kolento only has Lotheb or some of these Spectral Knights.
Yeah, right now Kolento is actually behind with the 2/3 and 5/3 and no way to actually remove them. 4/6 Spectral Knight is obviously a cool card to have, but then there was this Doomguard coming on next turn from Realz, which will be building up the board position immensely. A 5/7 charge is so good, and Realz won't be sorry about discarding Power Overwhelming and something he draws, because he will be able to replenish his hand starting from turn 6, and his board will be so big. On the other hand, Kolento has only passive cards, so just playing the cards that do nothing. He has the Force of Nature, which might be important. He decides not to attack with 1/1. I'm not sure I agree. I might have actually attacked into 5/3 to be able to set up it for the Force of Nature next turn.
Well, now that you picked up Defender of Argus, you have the opportunity to play Power Overwhelming, trade to the Spectral Knight, and disallow him again from getting good Argus targets, while still being able to push out a 2/3 minion. You have Doomguard. Do you feel like that pressure is necessary at the moment, or can you play the Doomguard now and try to grab advantage? I mean, I like this play just because the Spectral Knight represents a big threat. But was there any case of throwing the Doomguard down immediately, Nimsh?
I definitely like playing Defender of Argus in here, because you're just saving the cards from the Doomguard. You will not discard any cards almost with the Doomguard. You can also be lucky and draw a 1-drop. So here, he makes a good decision of just using his board to be able to push with damage. And Defender of Argus is one of those cards where you just position yourself in a race where instead of trading with minions, you can just go for face. He decided to actually kill the Spectral Knight, but also going for face was a okay decision because he is the one doing damage here. He is the one with the 5/7 demon. So it's only a question like, what is he afraid of? This put Kolento in a situation where he can actually clear.
Yeah, but you need a little bit more than clear. You want to clear and put something on the board against Zeus, so that way you can dictate a better trade. And that way, something like swipe off the top is really powerful. Realz picks up one of the heaviest cards in his deck, Dark Iron Dwarf, and he only has one, but it's still okay. The fact is, Druid has a very difficult time doing 7 damage, especially if Colento has no removal in his hand immediately, and Haunted Creeper is one of the worst draws he could possibly get at the moment.
Yeah, right now his hand is kind of like passive. It's really passive. He will be able to play a 5-drop and a 3-drop, I guess. He will be able to play the Shade. He has to decide if he wants to play Lothab or Spectral Knight. The thing is that if he plays Lothab, the Demon can just trade with it, or Demon can just push face. I guess the thing is like, he is still kind of safe, because after the next turn, after he attack from Realz, he will have 8 points of health. But he has to, I guess, play the Spectral Knight so that Demon is not able to trade with it, and Shade to be able to kind of try to fight to regain the board position. If he gets a Defender of Argus of Ancient of Lore, it might be pretty important for him, because most of the cards that Realz will be drawing, supposedly, are the small minions. Some of them might be even blanks, like Nerubian Egg with no buffs is just a blank. So he has to take his chances here and try to develop the board. Because Realz can't immediately... Oh, now this is a huge draw.
Oh man, more damage to the face, and that sets up a potential lethal the following turn.
He can also trade with the 4/6 really effectively here. But I guess you can actually go for face. Like when you have those all the minions that he can play here and just deal 8 points of damage, putting Colento on 5. I guess you do it. Like, this is the moment you really want to attack face instead of fighting for board position.
Yeah, the problem with fighting for board position is that something, again, like swipe off the top with hero power completely wipes him, and then Realz is left top decking. And just like you mentioned, if he's left with setup cards like Nerubian Egg, and like Harvest Golem, that gives an opportunity for Druid to climb back in this game. I like the idea of going for face, put him on a clock to deal with this Doomguard. And Realz is about to make that decision as well, I think.
Oh, well,
it's still
you
not
never know.
as easy to make, though.
He has a control player, mostly. And trading minions is kind of the most important thing you do throughout all the games. So spotting the moment where you actually want to go for face is pretty difficult. Also, if there is a Defender of Argus, like he has to think about stuff. If he goes for face now... Oh, he's actually going for face, but playing around swipe a bit.
Yep. He's making swipe very difficult. That way he can pause himself. He loses 1 damage. But still, it's going to take almost the entire board of Colento to trade into this if he wants to. But he picks up Innervate. That's one of the worst cards again. Colento's mid-game draws have not been helpful.
From my end, it's actually the game, because if he wants to kill Doomguard, he will have to trade both minions into Doomguard. And then he has to shapeshift to actually survive the 6 attack from Realz. If he doesn't kill the Doomguard, if he trades with like 3/2 and both 3/2s, then he's in a really weird position. So I guess he has to play everything and innervate the shapeshift here.
Yeah, it's about the same consequence either way. If you go kill off the Doomguard or if you kill off the smaller minions, but the smaller minions are easier to deal with. He's gonna pass over to Realz, and Realz only needs 1 damage off of his deck, but it's also possible to whiff. He's drawn through most of his buffers already.
He gets
Creeper
damage.
and Direwolf Alpha.
On the back of
Realz
the
will take
Direwolf Alpha.
Realz will take game 2 and tie it up, and Colento will have to go to something else. But the good news is probably the best is yet to come. Colento still has some of the most powerful decks lined up in Hearthstone, as Realz has banned the Priest of Colento and not Hunter. Hunter will be chosen immediately from Colento, an excellent choice.
He still has Hunter. The matchup was pretty difficult for Kolento. Definitely, like, no taunts, and Realz had a coin. He was able to push with tempo from the start, just winning the board all the time, and just crushing Kolento in that game. Right now, Kolento is taking a Hunter deck which is one of the most popular, but there are different builds. And Kolento is running Beast Cleave, which is a deck that Strife Crew was running before as well. I'm not sure if the guys work together on this deck, but definitely one of the... some people can say that actually Reynad invented this one, but Reynad invented Hearthstone, kind of. So this deck definitely a deck that Kolento and Strife Crew were working on, and it's running traps, and it's running a snake trap as well. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's such a cool curveball. People are expecting freezing traps for sure, but explosive trap is always one of those question marks. Are they running it? And if so, how many traps are they running? And then snake trap just kind of throws in this weird thing where you have synergy with scavenging hyena and starving buzzard in ways that can completely blow out the game. If buzzard comes out early and then they try to attack it and they don't have early removal with soulfire or a knife juggle, then well, you're drawing 3 cards and then you have the ability to get into Unleash the Hounds and potentially end the game. So I think it's a cool mix-up. It's also really important to get these 1/1 bodies to trade with Zoo early on. So Snake Trap's not even that bad, and most likely Zoo was going to be fighting for board control, so you'll probably have it proc.
I love the synergy of Snake Trap with Buzzard and Houndmaster. The thing is, like, when you're running Mad Scientist, you're sometimes you're getting the Snake Trap early for free. Like, you just get the Snake Trap after the Mad Scientist was killed. And if you're able to, like, turn 5, play Buzzard and coin the Houndmaster. Wait, it doesn't work that way. It's I mean, like, Houndmaster, and you actually put Buzzard behind the wall, behind the taunt. So, like, your Buzzard is protected because maybe you had a web spinner, which is a 1/1, and now it's a 3/3 with taunt, and you still have that trap. And then there's almost no good way to actually deal with that, and you will have to, like, your opponent will have to kill your Buzzard with some direct damage spell, like a Moral Coil or Soulfire, and often they don't have it. So sometimes the Snake Trap has an immense value. Also, even if you have just the Snake Trap and you play Buzzard on an empty board, still it's kind of weird. And the Snake Trap is not that popular as well, so a lot of players will just attack into the Buzzard because they have no choice. They have to kill the Buzzard when it enters the board, and you just get the Beast and you get the free cards, and then you follow up with, like, Houndmaster or whatever. And here Colento is also running Scavenging Hyena, which again is a great card that synergizes with Snake Trap and Unleash the Hounds. So certainly a build which is really stable with well, a lot of traps and tricks, which is pretty interesting. No flares. What do you think about not running any flares in a kind of hunter-heavy metagame?
Well, I think it's really smart because, well, if you're going to ban hunters every single time, you can use those 2 extra slots for something else. You don't have to worry about traps. Most likely, no one else is playing secrets in the tournament, at least from what your perspective is. So I think you have the opportunity to put in other good cards like Scavenging Hyena and Snake Trap. By the way, game number 3 is about to start, guys. And let's make sure to continue to show support for VGVN. They've been doing a good job, and we're excited for their second tournament of their Nax Rammus release series. So make sure to go ahead and check all this stuff out at the bottom of the Twitch channel. Opening mulligans, we see that Kolento does have a bow and a trap, but he's also thinking about throwing away his Buzzard. I think you want to kind of prioritize cards like Unleash the Hound, certainly in this matchup. But other cards like Bow and Freezing Trap, do you feel like they have a role in Zoo this early on?
I think Bow is actually cool. Freezing Trap I would also mulligan. I'm not sure about the Buzzard. I would probably keep the Buzzard just in case. You don't always need the Unleash the Hound. I mean, Unleash the Hounds is really important in this matchup, but you can, if you keep the Buzzard, you can get some animal companions, web spinners, so you will be able to use it anyway. Bow is pretty important to be able to remove stuff like Voidwalker maybe, that will be blocking your way for Unleash the Hound. So it's a pretty important card, especially in this build where you have a lot of traps. You have Mad Scientist as well.
Yikes. Knife Juggler does represent a big threat. Colento has to take that out as soon as possible. It makes a lot of these small 1 health minions a liability. Colento is presented with a very weird choice here. Does he have the opportunity to take out, or does he use this opportunity to develop something else?
Well, coin out the bow is actually a pretty
tricky.
good play. If he coins out the bow here, like, the thing about the coin is, like, you want to use it on turn 4 maybe, or like turn 3 to play a web spinner and buff it. Well, turn 3 is now turn 4 coin a web spinner and a Hummaster. But basically coining a bow here and just killing the juggler saves a lot of damage, and he is able kind of to take control of the board because there is only the 1/1. And also Realz playing the Duloc, he has a lot of buffs. So if you're able to get rid of the 3/2 juggler early, that's putting you in a kind of like a good position, I guess. Unleash the Hounds is a pretty important card in here, but I guess he will be still waiting till turn 5 maybe to be able to use it.
Yeah, that's the most painful part. You give up the coin, you lose the ability to unleash on turn 5, draw those cards. You know, it just gives you more flexibility in case you draw into these little ways to sneak in an extra creature or damage. And so you don't want to use your coin unless you absolutely need to this early on. And the truth is, with Knife Juggler up, it's a high priority because that Knife Juggler makes a lot of cards useless. Starving Buzzard off the top for Kolento. So he does have the combo, but the problem is, with that 1 extra mana nerf on Unleash the Hounds, it makes it so that Zoo sneaks in that much more damage on turn 4. So Colento needs to kind of find a way he can piece everything together.
Yeah, now it's super awkward for him because he'd love to have that coin back, to be able to maybe play Buzzard and Snake Trap, or to be able to play Buzzard and Unleash on turn 4. So he doesn't have a choice, he just plays the trap, and he kills the 2/2, losing the bow. But you know, like playing a trap, playing a secret here is pretty tricky because Realz doesn't know what it is. And he might have to play around, I guess, whatever.
Right. It might be Freezing Trap. If you kill off the Direwolf Alpha, you leave 1 minion out where it's going to be clearly disrupted to the tempo. Realz reads that this is Freezing Trap. Explosive would absolutely make no sense. Why would you attack into the Direwolf Alpha unless you're trying to play around Defender Vargas? And now Realz passes. So this gives Colento a small window where he can kind of set up and have a really, really strong turn with Buzzard and Unleash.
That's another thing that makes Hunter really strong. Those secrets. It's just your opponents, they have to make those decisions, those weird decisions. And here, playing Buzzard, I guess if he plays Buzzard, it's a statement, kind of, like it might be a Snake Trap. But if
that sells Snake Trap like crazy.
Yeah, but you know, do you really think about Snake Trap? Like, okay, he's playing versus Realz, so Realz will probably realize that this might actually be a Snake Trap, and he has the Soulfire. But also, firing the Buzzard in this spot is super awkward. But on the other hand, Kolento playing Buzzard here is super risky, because next turn he could actually Buzzard and Unleash.
Right, and he might even draw no cards from this Buzzard, but he's going to go for it. Now, if Realz has his ear close to the ground, he's seen players like Strifegrow in the past run Snake Trap. It's a teammate of Colento. Is it going to be Snake Trap?
Oh,
and it is. God. 3 cards for Colento, so it's like he unleashed already for 2 mana. And now he's going to draw 3 cards and have a full hand. Second Unleash comes into the hand of Colento. He's got everything he needs.
This is huge. Do you think like he actually didn't read that it might be a possible Snake Trap? Because on the other hand, firing that Buzzard will be super awkward. And this is the turn he wanted to play something else. So attacking into Buzzard, if this would be a Freezing Trap, and his read was that this was a Freezing Trap last turn, was I guess correct. But if it would be a Freezing Trap, I think this play made no sense from Kolento.
Yeah, but now Realz is kind of paying the price. He was really hoping this Defender was a Freezing Trap so he can kind of get it back in his hand. Maybe he can discard it with Doomguard so it's a little heavier. If not, it's still something on turn 6 to buff his board without trying to overextend to unleash too much. And now Colento has so much at his disposal. Sure, he's at 15 health, but he has a Hunter's Mark to kind of push through this. And he's got Unleash number 2, so he can continue to push back against the board. He's got Houndmaster to set up taunts. I feel like in this position, it's very difficult for Realz to come back.
Kolento has 7 cards in hand. He has the boards. He has the board. He is clearing the board. He gets Leok. This is really huge. And Realz has nothing. He has Power Overwhelming, and his board will be non-existent next turn. What is he going to do? Kolento has 15 points of health, which seems that it's not that much. But on the other hand, if there is nothing that is going to deal damage to you, the 15 points of health is just a lot. and he gets another trap from the Mad Scientist. So right now he's pretty secure. Also, it's important that Realz has used his one so far and one Doom Guard. So his ability to actually get something with charge that deals a lot of damage and burst is limited right now.
Yeah, Liak was actually such a sick roll off the Animal Companion because Huffer would have been a little bit moot. You're still trying to trade everything into the board anyways. And it allows him to have a stickier minion with a little bit more health, especially since he has double Houndmaster. So he's got lots of ways to set up taunt and thick minions. Savannah Highmane comes out on the board. And it's going to be really difficult for Realz to burst through everything. He's got 2 Power Overwhelmings and Doom Guard, but he's going to have to discard things again because the Freezing Trap does proc. Realz is in a really tough spot.
That Doom Guard is actually a huge card because right now he might want to take a gamble. Double Power Overwhelming is just a lot. If he's able next turn, if this Harvest Golem survives, Kolento is dead. Realz has exactly 15 points of damage in his hand. So Colento really has to kill the Harvest Golem, but being Colento, you have 15 points of health, it's just a Harvest Golem. You've seen one Doom Guard, you've seen one Soulfire. Are you afraid?
I mean, the taunt already kind of puts a big damper into those plans. And then how is he going to be able to push through a 9-7? And he sets up lethal for the following turn as well.
Colento's playing super safe.
Yep.
Colento just really declined any possibility for Realz to win this game. With the taunt, with the freezing trap, with this strong board, there is no way that Warlock can actually push through with damage. Even though he has those kind of like 15 points of damage in his hand, he won't be able to go through. Realz concedes.
That's it. Colento's going to climb back in the series 2-1 and go on game point. And Realz is going to have to rely on his last deck, which I believe is a rogue. Yes, and it's going to be the Miracle Rogue. Let's take a look real quick about some of the specifics that fine-tune this deck. It seems like he's going to opt to go for a little bit quicker damage with things like Southsea Deckhand and Cold Blood. You can kind of combine that for 6 damage off of 2 cards.
Haunted Creeper. Like this
Haunted
seems
Creeper?
Yeah, this seems so weird, by the way. It's a you're just going through the list and you're like, hey, okay, so this is probably Miracle Rogue, and then you're like looking at the Southsea Deck and you're like, wait, is this Backspace? And then there's the Haunted Creeper, and then there are actually the Gadgets and Auctioneer. So this is a Miracle Rogue with a twist, with Haunted Creeper and Southsea Deckhand, which is kind of interesting. It's I'm not exactly sure what's the use of Haunted Creeper in here, but maybe he felt like he really needs a kind of like a sticky 2-drop to be able to trade with all other sticky 2-drops that other people play. Same situation with the Southsea Deckhand. But other than that, this build looks standard. It's important that he's running Assassin's Blade, which is just going out and in of the Miracle builds. So this is the weapon that actually can deal a lot of damage. But how does this Miracle actually match up versus this Hunter deck? Because historically, the Beastcleave deck is kind of like a different build. Historically, the Savannah Highmane build was pretty bad versus Miracle because it was too slow, and the aggressive Hunter was a lot better because you were able to race. And here, this deck, this Hunter, is totally different than the old Sunshine Hunters. It has the Mad Scientist, it has a lot of traps, and it has a Web Spinner. I'm not sure that the Beastcleave is actually that slow. I feel like this deck can actually race Miracle on an even terms.
All right, well, let's find out what happens in Game 4. Realz is on his last life for this series, at least, but it's still just the first one of 3 that he's going to play in this round-robin group stage. Let's find out what happens in the opening hands. Realz is going to start off on the coin, which is, again, really nice. So you get that extra card. Not only for your own scouting intel, but also the ability to use coin as a spell. Colento, in the meantime, has probably one of the best starts. Just needs to pick up something like Animal Companion, and you have the 1, 2, 3 that hunters always dream of.
I'm kind of surprised that Realz actually thinks about mulliganing Deadly Poison. On the other hand, Colento has to think about tracking, because he has a really good start. Tracking is a card you kind of want to draw mid-game to be able to fetch something you need. Here you probably would love to have Mad Scientist or Eaglehorn Bow, or maybe like I'm not sure about any traps, but definitely a free drop like Eagle Horn or Animal Companion. And you want to get that card instead of just tracking for that card. You want to use tracking later when you're fishing for like a kill command or maybe even Savannah Hyman on turn 5. But still, he thinks about it and Realz mulliganed Deadly Poison. He is searching for Gadgetson, I guess, and he didn't get it.
Probably something like Haunted Creeper as well. Haunted Creeper can answer this web spinner very effectively. Realz also has a hard time dealing with it because he only has things like Fan of Knives is also surprisingly a really effective card. And I think I only saw one in his deck. Same thing with even Farseer. A lot of these cards that are really helpful because of what they can do against Hunter. You're cutting back so that way it's better in other matchups, and you're squeezing in things like your Southsea Deckhands and Assassin's Blade. So whether or not it pays off for Realz is yet to be seen. Haunted Creeper finally comes off, though, right on the mana curve. So at least now he has something to play. But it looked a little bit scary at first, because if Realz whiffed and say he drew Preparation here, that could have been a really scary start for Hunter, and Realz would have been in big trouble.
A Hyena, that looks pretty interesting. Might be able to actually buff it, and the tracking is actually pretty good as well with Animal Companion, Mad Scientist, and Starving Buzzard. The thing is, like, all the free cards are good, so what do you take? Playing versus Miracle Rogue, don't expect many minions, so Buzzard might not be that effective, but on the other hand, just you need the card draw. You really need to draw into cards to be able to finish your opponent. So even though Mad Scientist and Animal Companion look pretty nice, I'm thinking that Colento is choosing between Animal Companion and Starving Buzzard.
Yeah, I have to agree, just because there's a very hard wall that Hunter hits if they never have Buzzard around turn 6 or 7, where they're playing if they don't have Highmane or Buzzard, then they just run out of gas. They actually have nothing to do, and they're just hero powering while you have the ability to kind of run them over. Buzzard is too valuable, in my opinion, to just kind of toss away, because it's your way to rebound into the game. Not to mention that you have things like Web Spinner, which draws a beast, and that can give you other synergies that you don't expect, in addition to just the traditional draw with Unleash the Hounds.
Oh my god, a backstep top deck, a pretty important card, and Kolento actually decided not to attack into 1/1, which is pretty cool. I mean, this is 1 point of damage, and he wouldn't buff his Hyena anyway, but this backstep might be pretty important. The thing is, like, the Hyena being a 4/3 is kind of like a threat, so Realz, instead of like playing anything really cool, he has to deal with the Hyena, and you definitely don't want to sap it, because you know that the Savannah Hyman will come at some point, and you will have to deal with it, so you just want to kill it as soon as possible. The thing is that using Shiv in here with backstep, you're not playing anything, so you just lost 2 cards, kind of. You're getting 1 card back, but you're not having board position and board presence. This 1/1 it's not really threatening Colento at any point. It's mostly...
Well, how about now? The Cold Blood on
God.
top of it, that way it can sneak in 5 damage. I mean, Cold Blood is purely a damage card, so whether you use it on Leroy on your final Shadow Step, or you're using it immediately to put pressure on your opponent, I guess Realz is just going to dump it, so that way he has some pressure and a way to answer this without having to coin hero power in order to kill off this Haunted Creeper.
That's definitely a good play from Realz, because not having a Gadgetson, his only game plan here is to deal as much damage as possible and try to rush Kolento. If he gets too many, if he gives Kolento too many turns to be able to deal damage, Hunter can be really explosive, so he can't afford it. He has to deal damage, and he has to make Kolento actually trade with his minions. Kolento, though, is not taking the bait, and he's toning up his Spider and continue to race.
Yep. And now this is the opportunity that Realz has. He has Shadow Step, by the way, so more damage in the hand. And this is really cool because the Cold Blood not only put pressure on, but it played around Houndmaster as well, because how do you kind of deal with this fact that Realz is able to put on pressure with just a small minion, and Hunter can't really affect the state of the board. They need that 1 extra damage. The only way that he can is something like Unleash the Hounds, which is so painful because you're unleashing for 1 card. Or are you? Kolento's just going to ignore it.
He ignores the 5/1 Spider.
Oh my god.
Prodan, you know what this means? This means the Spider is actually going to deal 15 damage total. This is insane.
Jesus, the Cold Blood effectively did 12. Now he picks up Fan of Knives too, which is a really important card for him to deal with a lot of these smaller minions like Buzzard and whatever hounds that survive off the Unleash. Kolento's in a difficult position because he has Leroy and Shadow Step in hand, just has to pair together a little bit more damage and he can end this game.
Killing the Spider to get like more cards from Buzzard Unleash is pretty cool. And he will be able to effectively clear the board in here and draw 3 cards. If he gets a web spinner. Oh, he gets a web spinner!
Ooh.
Sick top deck.
Yeah.
That's another card.
And, you know, second bow is not that great, but at least he still has some other good cards to back it up with. More card draw, and he's got Leroy as a finisher. But here's the problem. Fan of Knives is going to be able to destroy
Gadget's top deck. Oh my god.
But that's not even as much of a priority. Don't you just want to draw damage? You have 12 in hand. In fact, if you just hero power and whack, you just need to draw 2 more, so like SI7 agent becomes a kill too.
Kolento needs the traps. There is a lot of traps that actually can help him in this deck, but he didn't get a single one. This is really weird. Mad Scientist finally comes, but might not be the card he needed. What does Kolento actually need to win this game?
Yeah, I think Freezing Trap is definitely one of them, because that's your best answer to Leroy. And Mad Scientist is his ticket, but it is still 2/3 chance. He's also trying to calculate how much damage he can do with Leroy power weapon next turn. That's 11 plus the 2 from Mad Scientist, so that's 13. If he draws into something like Kill Command, no, he's still going to be short. Colento's just putting out as much damage as possible. Haunted Creeper is way too passive because it's 1 damage unguaranteed. And now Realz has the opportunity to strike back. He picks up Thanos, and that's not going to be his ticket, but he still gets 1 damage closer with his hero power attack. And Kolento is looking at his last turn unless he can make something happen.
Realz was actually 1 damage of lethal there, and playing Glothab is such a strong play because against Hunter, you just seal all those spells, and there's a lot of good spells like Hunter's Mark and Unleash the Hound. So how is Kolento going to actually respond in here? Like even the Freezing Trap, which is a pretty cool card, it costs 7 points of mana, so he can't play it. Is he just dead? I think he's just dead. Like there is no way to actually deal with this board. He might have to play Leroy to actually like kill the 5/5 in here.
And what has to happen, I think, is Kolento has to draw something like Houndmaster, and then this has to be Freezing Trap that's procced by the Mad Scientist. Snake Trap is completely useless. Because if Kolento played like Starving Buzzard and Ironbeak Owl, or Haunted Creeper, and say he drew Houndmaster and then suicided it, I think he would have been able to kill off Lotheb while being able to play. Oh no, because then the Freezing Trap gets procced by the Thanos. No, I don't think there was actually a way that Kolento could have survived.
Yeah, it was
even if he draws Houndmaster off the top here.
Well, another option was just to kill the 1/1 with the Scientist and then play the Freezing Trap. That would put... Oh, he would be dead anyway because he just had exactly 30 points of damage next turn. So pretty tough, tough run for Kolento here. Realz was able to actually execute a strategy, deal damage and kill your opponent as soon as possible. He checks the trap. This is not explosive or
What
freezing.
if this was Snipe? Snipe the Leroy.
Snipe would be so funny in here.
That would be way too clutch and too sick. The series is tied and we're going to game 5. And Kolento will have to play, I believe, his Shaman deck as his last line of defense. And this is an important win. It's the first series of the entire tournament, and you want to set the note as high as you can, especially against a tough opponent like Realz/Kolento.
Oh man, a 2/2, and now Kolento is left with his Shaman, and Realz has a Rogue. Let's have a look at this Shaman build. Is there anything that actually surprises you? Doomhammer? Is there a
Well, the
Doomhammer?
one Lightning Storm always jumps out to me. It's always like, well, are you sure about this? I've seen Strife Grow and a few other people run it, but every time you do, it's just like it's not the fact that you have one, it's the fact that you have that much less, you have a 50% less chance to draw the Lightning Storm, which is sometimes what you need in these situations. Maybe not against Miracle Rogue, but just in general, we're looking at the entire tournament, because it seems like Realz brought Zoo. Whoever else brings Zoo, you need like those double Lightning Storms. To me, it always jumps out and like, oh man, it feels like such an important staple card that you need, don't you?
Well, Strifecrawl, at some point he wasn't running it at all. The thing is, like, this Shaman build is kind of like embodiment of stickiness. Like, all those minions are so sticky. The Creepers, Nurbenag, Harvest Golem, Sludge Belcher, Cairn, like, they're just making the board position for you. And a Shaman is all about board control and board position. So if you're able to swamp the board with all those cards and be able to also taunt them. There's double Defender Vargas, which is pretty important because he will have a lot of taunts. Sludge Belchers, Alakir, no Doomhammer, but this deck seems like it's really stopping all the attacks. And
so many death rattles damage, but there's no Undertaker. That's pretty disappointing to me. Not just because I think Colento's doing something wrong, but I feel like Undertaker fits like it's the same thing as having an Argent Squire in terms of the deck with things like Flame Tongue and Answering Aggro, but the synergy is just out the wall. Like the Sludge Belcher, Harvest Golem, the Ruby Ant, Haunted Creeper, even Thanos and Cairn, the legendaries are death rattles as well. It would have been cool to see maybe one snuck in, but it seems like Colento is going for more of the Board Swarm Shaman here, as he even scaled back things like Azure Drake in favor of getting the double Sludge Belcher. Game number 5 will determine it all of who wins this first series. Let's get underway and see what happens, Nimsh.
I'm excited. Let's see the mulligans.
Right? Shaman does struggle a little bit against that Miracle Rogue. If Miracle continues getting the clears, cards like Blade Flurry is actually extremely important, so that way you can go for the AoE clears, especially against things like Feral Spirits, which put a damper into Miracle Rogue's plans early on in the game.
And on Colento's side, he has to mulligan almost the whole hand. He wants to get those small minions, and he got the Feral Spirit, double Rockbiter Alakir combo.
There you go.
Are we going to see it?
It's turn 10 or turn 9 with the coin. That's a lot of optimism.
It
You
looks
kind of
sick.
have everything in your hand set until then. I'm not sure, but it'd be cool to see 18 damage straight from the dome.
Well, definitely, the Ruben Egg is pretty cool also with Rockbiter, because you can buff it, you can kill something big, and then you get a 4/4 Nerubian as a gift. So a pretty cool small combo there. Airshock also important mainly versus the Death Rattle guys. So if Realz is actually getting that Haunted Creeper, then Kolento has an answer.
Yeah, and it does give that a little bit of insurance as well. Say you don't necessarily have to trade. This SS7 edition doesn't come out or something. It's also your insurance against AoE. If something like Fan of Knives or Blade Flurry comes out. Realz attacks into this, by the way. Sets it up for
That's
1.
so weird.
Yeah, that was a really interesting thing. I was kind of going to ask you immediately for opinion, but it seems like you're in the same boat as I am.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused as well. I mean, the only reasoning here would be to, if you get the backstab, if there is no taunt, you just kill the egg with a weapon attack, or maybe like even deckhand. That would be a cool play. So if there will be no Feral Spirit, then you attack into an egg and you play a deckhand and you play SA7. You get rid of the 4/4 Spider immediately. But with the Feral Spirit in here, that poses a problem for him. He has the Blade Flurry, but he doesn't have the Deadly Poison.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to wait for that for sure. You can use his deckhand to remove the Feral Spirits, but then the Feral Spirits go 1 for 2 card-wise, and you actually even took a little damage backwards to you. So you don't feel great about doing this. And that's why Feral Spirits early on gives Rogue a lot of trouble. They have ways to do increments of 2. 2 damage and 4 damage are very easy, but unless you have Deadly Poison, that 3 health is still so annoying.
Well, he can play the deckhand, attack into one of the wolves, and kill the other with SI7 and attack from the weapon. And then the wolf won't be able to kill SI7, it will just have to trade in it. The thing is, like, if Colento has a Rockbiter weapon, and we know he has it, it's kind of like a big gamble, because then the Nerubian Egg is actually killing the SI7, and the Feral Spirit stays on board.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, this, and that's actually kind of cool thing by the South Sea deckhand. It is a combo enabler. It's basically like a minion with Sinister Strike's capabilities, because you can buff your deckhand with Cold Blood, and it gives your ability to start off combos really easily. The Rockbiter in the hand of Colento, I have to imagine it comes out. It's just too good to pass up. You get a full board clear, you put a 4/4 up, and make life as difficult as possible for this Miracle Rogue.
This looks really bad for Realz. He has to top deck the Deadly Poison. Without it, it might be pretty tough. He has the Eviscerate, which is a great card to actually deal with a 4/4. But then the 4/4 actually tanks 4 damage, and Realz also has to enable the combo for Eviscerate. Colento uses another Biter to actually clear the board in here. Well,
All right,
he is
like
going aggro way.
I mean, it's Shaman has an opportunity to pressure, and his his deck is kind of really, he doesn't have like those burst options as much as beyond Alakir. He doesn't have like Doom Hammer, so these minions have to get a lot of mileage and damage early on. One of the best ways to answer Miracle Rogue is just to fill up the board and make it almost impossible for them to answer everything, unless they have like a full board clear with Blade Flurry. So I like this response. It's really difficult for Realz to deal with.
This is so awkward for Realz, by the way. Because he doesn't have the Auctioneer again, and his way to win the game is to pressure with damage. But right now he's just trading blows with Kolento, and I feel like he's kind of losing the board presence. With a 5/5 Lothab is obviously great because Kolento won't be able to play any spells.
Oh man, the taunt totem!
It's the ideal thing he wanted.
Oh, and Shadow Step off the top for Realz. That's not necessarily the best.
What do you even do?
Oh my god,
just combo?
Kolento forgot to attack with Nerubian? Am I reading this correctly? I think Kolento just missed 4 damage here. Oh, that could completely bite him in the butt. Oh no!
Oh my god, what just happened? I guess he was super excited about the Taunt Totem, and he felt like, yeah, I always attack first. Oh, that is so weird. Maybe he's afraid of the Molten Giants.
The Molten Giants and Miracle Rogue. You know what? It's not impossible. I've seen a few streamers try that out, but I think they were completely trolling. It's like what you expect Noxious or Forsen to do, right? The double Molten Giants Miracle Rogue.
Broden, think about it. You're facing Ninja Realz. It's a Ninja Realz. He can Ninja the Molten out of his deck.
I don't know. That's being really optimistic if you're not attacking into that. Realz is, by the way, he has to spend all of these cards as much as he's doing a good job answering the threats. The point is he's using all of these cards just to not fall too far behind.
I think Kolento realized that he actually forgot to attack. He's kind of sad.
Yeah,
but yeah, definitely.
Second Taunt Totem. Alright, well, it didn't really matter because he has Defender, but these Taunt Totems are really good.
This time he attacked. And by the way, I really liked Shadow Step on Lothab by Realz because, well, Shaman has a lot of spells. Like, this is one of the most spell-heavy deck that's around. And Lothab, a key card. If you're able to keep Lothab and just keep playing it and playing it, then you just make the Shaman not play those cards. And Kolento actually didn't have a Fire Elemental, so he was only able to play those small minions. But being Realz here, you're still in a weird position. You really want that Gudgeon Auctioneer. And I feel like a lot of Rogue versus Shaman depends mostly on Auctioneer. Because
oh my god,
if you get an Auctioneer, you feel really good about it. You can win easily.
Look at this, Leroy has to attack into a 1/3 Taunt Totem. Or 1/6 Taunt Totem. This just feels miserable. If your opponent has Lightning Storm, game's over. And Realz has been completely stopped. As much as Kolento has had a couple of missteps in this entire series, Realz is ready to concede. Right here, he's like, you know what? I can't even do this anymore.
You do what you have to do, right?
He's waiting for the Lightning Storm. As soon as the Lightning Storm pops, he would just say, all right, well, it's GG.
Well, there's no Lightning Storm, but still Kolento has Defender of Argus, so he will be able to taunt some stuff up. The thing is that Realz has the Blade Flurry, but it's still only 1 point of damage. But it's so miserable from Realz. Like, he just didn't get that Auctioneer, and most of those games are you get Auctioneer or not. Kind of like Solitaire, right? It's being a Miracle Rogue. You just if you get an Auctioneer, you can win. If you don't, you just lose.
Well, I think it's even more than that. If you don't have Auctioneer, that's why cards like Lothab and Azure Drakes and your Farseers are supposed to help you get close to that point. If Realz even picks up Gadgets and Auctioneer here, what can you even do?
He needs that deadly poison. Oh my god, he needs it right now.
Alright, still can get it. Still can get a Blade Flurry clear.
Oh,
but Preparation is probably the worst draw.
You are
and
not
Realz is in such a bad spot. Can't even begin to emphasize how do you even come back to this position.
Well, he can Shadow Step Leroy, I guess.
I suppose, and he isn't dead this turn.
Well, that's a lot of damage actually. Like, Kolento dropped to 14. He doesn't have any taunts right now on the board. So being Realz, you hope that there is no Feral Spirit. There actually is one. There is no Alakir, and there is no Hex. You really hope that those cards are not there in Kolento's hand. Because if he taunts up, well, Preparation Leroy doesn't cut it. Still,
Yep.
7 points of damage with a weapon attack.
Yeah,
So,
even if you draw Sap, you're gonna have 12 damage, so only 2 to end the game. You're gonna be too short, that is. And Realz looks like he's just gonna concede because it's not gonna be worth his time to fight back into position. He would need more than a miracle.
tough for Realz.
Oh, never mind. I thought he did concede, but he just held there.
Kind of. Maybe
Well
he misclicked.
played.
He wanted to concede, but that's it. Well played from Realz. And in fact, pretty well played. Actually, you didn't come, but he did his best. He took some risky decisions based on his hand that might have paid off, but Colento actually had all the cards he needed. And Colento also played really well. So Colento will take the series versus a previous finalist, Realz. And yeah, that was a pretty cool series for them. What do you think?
Yeah, Colento kind of had a few falters, but just getting warmed up. This happens. Everyone knows Colento is one of the best players, if not the best player on ladder, just because of how he's able to champion all kinds of decks and styles, innovate with decks, and still be able to stream himself hitting #1, which is also an impressive feat for itself, considering how many people like to snipe those streamers. The guy is absolutely talented. It's just that it hurts your heart a little bit to see him miss these damages or miss lethal. But the most important part for Colento fans is that he won the series. That's all that counts, at least for now. Meanwhile, we're going to have Trump and 6-0 coming up after the break. But before we do, we want to give this opportunity to talk about what VGVN is. You see the acronym all over, but maybe you don't know what it's about. Just a little quick background about what it is. The Video Game Voters Network, they're a group that helps combat harmful legislation against video games and for voting rights. They promote a lot of things like education, scientific, and artistic benefits of gaming. And all you have to do to join is just to kind of figure out what's going on with the link there, the vgvn.onenationsofgamers.com, and enter for your opportunity to win a cyber-powered PC while learning about how to fight for more of your rights. So do that. You can also check it out at the bottom of the Twitch page. Do you want to say something, Nimsh?
Yeah, by the way, guys, if you want to enter and win a PC, you can type giveaway and chat, and you will get a link. You have to click on the link and then go and register. Just typing giveaway doesn't put you into a raffle. And so just enter the link, register there. If you're a US citizen, you will be able to take part in the raffle that I think will be held at the third VGV event. So definitely try to be a winner yourself and enter as well.
All right, why don't you do that while we take a few minutes to reset and get ready for Trump versus 6-0. You're watching VGVN Nax Ramos Release Tournament #2. We'll be right back.